Hello and welcome everyone back to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. My name is Bird Bouchard, and along with me today we have the producer, the co-host, the brother, Mitchell Bouchard. Mitch, what's going on, man?
What's going on, dude? So much is happening. I think, well, we'll get right to it, but basketball's starting, and let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, so right now the NBA preseason has begun. So the game started about an hour and a half ago, so we don't know too much in terms of what's going on. Obviously, there's not going to be the bubble. However, basketball is here in the season. It looks like it's going to be starting in 11 days, so certainly excited for that. But why you're all here, as I'm sure most of you all can tell by the title of this video, Mitch and I wanted to talk about NBA players who we think are either undervalued or just players that we're really excited to watch this season, and players that we think their card prices could eventually see a rise. And I believe as well, Mitch, before we mention any players, we're going to mention whether we think they're a good short-term flip, long-term hold, whatever it might be. And of course, you have someone who's been on your mind, so start it off.
Well, he's always been on my mind, but honestly, I think Zion Williamson is going to be the player that will be a little more respected than last year. I would say that at least last year, with all the injuries, with everything happening, I think he's got not only a lot to show for himself, but I believe he's at the right. It's good timing for him, right? You know, he's in his second year. He's got some experience. He averaged, I looked at it, he doubled the league average in points last year as a 19-year-old. So now he's 20. Looks like he's a little bit thinner too, so that's good for basketball. I honestly believe, I'm going to make a prediction, why not? He's going to average between 25 and 28 points this year. I really think he's going to bring those numbers up. I believe it's about 21, 22 points per game. I really think Zion, even when I first got him, I see him being even a tad better. He's got the new coach. He's got Ingram, who's going to be playing well. There's so much happening where I think he's got so much to prove. Zion is going to shock the world. He's going to average 25 to 28 points per game. He may win a dunk contest if they're doing all that and make the All-Star game. That's what I see. And is he a good buy now? 100%.
Wow. It's difficult for me to get behind the points per game. Now, of course, I don't quite think that their new coach, Stan Van Gundy, is going to limit him to minutes like we saw last year. I think he's obviously going to be a very important piece to the New Orleans Pelicans with Brandon Ingram and, of course, your favorite player on that team in Lonzo Ball. However, 25 points per game is literally going to likely put him in the top 5 in the NBA for that category. I don't quite think that will happen. I definitely think he's going to be, 20 points per game, 18.8 points per game, around that. 25, though,
no.
I think that's a bit steep, and only time will tell.
Yeah, but to be honest, another thing you mentioned too, the minutes restriction. With him being not restricted in time like he was last year, and if he's healthy, if we see healthy Zion, and he's growing, this guy's 6'6". Don't forget that. He's got so much talent, and that's not a thing of. It's not even the hype aspect. It's the fact that he's that good, and I think a lot of people are going to see that. I really do. So who do you like?
I'm going to surprise people with this one. This is a name that many people aren't thinking of. At least that I've heard from, or I guess lack thereof. This is a name that at one point was probably the most hyped kid coming out of the University of Kentucky, and I've said it multiple times on this show. I love guys who come out of University of Kentucky because they're NBA ready. And aside from his injuries, do it with me, do the John Wall. John Wall has been a phenomenal point guard ever since he stepped into the NBA, ever since he performed that Dougie move. He's been phenomenal. Now, obviously, he hasn't played in about a year and a half to 2 years, which, of course, I understand right off the bat of this video, Mitch and I have provided injury-plagued players. However, the doctors who performed his surgery said that John Wall is likely the healthiest he's ever been in his career, and I truly believe that. I literally just turned on the preseason game, and John Wall, having just moved over to the Houston Rockets and having now teamed up with yet another Kentucky Wildcat in DeMarcus Cousins, who I still believe has a lot of value. And, of course, they still probably have the best finisher, the best scorer in the league in James Harden. I'm not going to call them a big three, but I'm going to call them three pretty big superstars. And obviously that's going to be their little big three. But let me tell you, a healthy John Wall will consistently lead, or at least come near leading the league in assist. And I think he's going to be feeding both the big guy and James Harden quite a few times. So for me, when I'm looking at his Prism prices, John Wall is criminally undervalued. I mean, this is still a guy capable of being an all-star. So for those reasons and many more, I really like John Wall.
Wow, so I guess you would say it's somewhat similar. What we have guys that are coming off of injuries that are, that have the potential. We see it. There's something to be said about the talent of John Wall. That's something that he just hasn't been able to express and really put out into the world, you would say. Especially injuries are awful. Like I've had injuries in baseball. I know what it's like when your arm hurts and you're trying to throw. It's the worst thing in the world. I couldn't imagine trying to dunk a basketball, let alone being hurt and being heavy, right? So, man, John Wall and Zion, I really hope they could shock the world, it seems like. So who's the other guy you were talking about? We talked about it earlier over Facebook. There's a new player that you were going to hit on.
Probably not a... I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be... I can't remember if this is going to be his third or fourth year. And this guy has actually been considered a rival of your all-time favorite player, Lonzo Ball. And that is De'Aaron Fox.
I hate Lonzo Ball.
And again, I just realized, and guys, I'm not trying to do this. I will be the last person to tell you, go and pick up every single Kentucky Wildcat. It just so happens to be that this is yet another Kentucky Wildcat. De'Aaron Fox, he's got the speed. He has crazy maturity. Go Google or go YouTube one of his interviews. He's incredibly humbled. He's incredibly mature, and I like that. I think Sacramento had a really good pickup with their rookie, and I'm not going to mention his name for the sole fact that I'm going to be mentioning him in an upcoming video as well. But no, honestly, man, when I look at De'Aaron Fox and when I look at what he's capable of doing, it's only a matter of time till this guy's even averaging like 22, 23 points per game. He's definitely on that cusp. So I like De'Aaron Fox a lot.
So the question is, if you believe in these players, who have you been picking them up? Because I'll give you a little example. I've got two main cards, two main players, characters in my personal collection, my PC. I've got 30 rookie cards, and his name is Zion Williamson. In terms of my PC, I want to collect the best of the best and somebody who's exciting to keep me in this. I also want to know if you guys want to comment below. Put down who your number one investment is and why. But I think there is so much more potential on the table, and I'm talking about the next 3 to 4 years. I know we were going to talk about getting into short-term, long-term. Long-term, we have no idea with Zion. In the short term, my goodness. You already told me what I think he's going to average. I think about 25, 26 points per game, minimum.
Minimum, wow. And again, that's just it. That 25 points per game is ridiculous. And, if he hits that plateau, you're going to see Zion Williamson card prices absolutely spiking. And, I'm definitely not saying that I'm not, in favor of Zion doing that. I hope that he does that. I just think that number, at least in year 2, for anybody, is quite high. And I also want to mention, for both John Wall and De'Aaron Fox, I would argue that John Wall, you might want to flip come playoffs. I definitely think Houston is a team capable of making playoffs. And De'Aaron Fox, just the sole fact that he's playing for the Kings, might not make the playoffs. However, maybe after a big game, you might want to flip it. Or if you believe in him more long-term, I would hold on to it for maybe another season or two, kind of see what he's capable of doing in his career.